Why do so many people get stuck at 1 or 2 properties, yet some people go and build a multi-million-dollar portfolio? In this video, I want to share with you some solutions to some obstacles that you may be facing right now that's stopping you from getting to 5+ properties here in Australia. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, cryptocurrency, and financial freedom. I would go on to say that most of you that are watching this channel are interested in retiring with real estate. So you're effectively going, I need multiple properties, but I just don't see how it's possible. So let's first address how many people in Australia actually have more than 5 properties, and then we'll work backwards through 4 key things that are key obstacles stopping you from unlocking unlimited financial freedom. Let's jump into it. So according to CoreLogic and the ABS data, the number of residential dwellings in Australia has boomed to about 11.1 million. The total value of the residential market rose to 10.4 trillion at the end of January 2024. And I can tell you now it's closer to 11 trillion. There are a total of 2.3 trillion in outstanding mortgage debt for these properties. So if you did a simple LVR calculation, you're probably looking at around 20%. So if you're looking at Australia as a whole, our LVR position is closer to about 20%, although most people that have purchased property in the recent 10 or 15 years, your LVRs might be a lot higher, closer to about 70 or 80%. Now, 56.7% of Australian household wealth is held in housing. So when you think about Australia and people from overseas think about the Australian market, they're like, Australians are absolutely obsessed with Australian real estate because a lot of our wealth is also tied in with this one thing. Now this is important because when you think about the government, most likely they've also got their wealth in real estate, and that's why there's an incentive to really prop up the housing market, and it goes well beyond our means, and that's why we have one of the most unaffordable cities being Sydney in the world. Now the latest data from the ATO reveals that 2.2 million Australians, or around 20% of Australia's 11.4 million taxpayers, owned an investment property in 2020 and 2021. This is the latest data released at the time of writing and was released in June 2023. So we don't really have the updated data. Now, easily I would say that that number is much higher. However, with interest rates having gone up quite considerably over the last 18 to 24 months, that number could probably be quite stable to where it is right now. Here's how many properties investors hold in Australia in 2020-21 financial year. 71% of investors hold just 1 property. 18% of investors hold 2 investment properties. So if you add these two numbers of 71 plus 18, you get to 89%. So that means 89% of investors in Australia hold 2 investment properties. That's it. Now, yes, you can go on to argue that they might have it in multiple names, they might have it under trust structures, but reality is that if you own 2 properties, you're probably not using a trust structure anyway, and that is a big number. When you think that 89% of investors only ever get to 2 properties, it makes you scratch your head and think, why can't we get more? If you go on, you see almost 6% own 3 properties, only 2% own 4, and this is where the number really declines. When you get to 5 properties, it's less than 1%. And it's less than 1% of investors, or about 20,000 people, that hold 6 or more investment properties. That is absolutely nuts, knowing how much we know and how some people have held some properties for so long, and that's why it's a good time to just take a step back and realize where you are. Smell the flowers, my friend, because if you're someone that owns more than 5 properties, you're in the top 1% of Australian investors owning real estate. That is absolutely crazy. Now, one thing is to have all these numerous properties, and then the other thing is the value of those properties and what they provide for you. You could go out there tomorrow and say, well, I'm gonna buy a unit block which has, say, 4 or 5 properties, and they're gonna cost me about 50K each because it's in some mining town. Well, then yeah, of course you got multiple properties, like duh. But is that going to get you to financial freedom? You compare that to someone who's owning 1 house in Mossman for like $6 million, they aren't the same thing. And that's why the number of properties doesn't really matter. It's the strategy that you have in place, and sometimes to execute that strategy, you need multiple properties, you need them in multiple locations, and other times you may only need 1 or 2 properties to get to financial freedom. In this video, which you should definitely go check out, bookmark, watch later, whatever you need to do, is how I show you to effectively retire filthy rich with just 2 investment properties. So definitely go check it out. Again, it's not going to suit everyone, but it's one way to get there. Let's think about the 4 key obstacles that hold us back from getting from 1 property all the way up to 5+. Clearly, the numbers suggest that it is quite difficult. So why is it difficult? Number 1 is borrowing capacities. With interest rates where they're at, it's not the only thing the bank considers. So what most banks will do is they'll say, okay, if the interest rate is 6%, I'm going to then add a buffer rate of 2 or 3%, and that is what I'm going to assess whether you can afford this property or not. So you may sit there and say, well, okay, my monthly savings is $2,000, but if I get an investment property and now I'm losing, say, $1,800, yeah, I could still service the loan, so I should get it. But if you were just basing this on 6% interest rates and not 8 or 9%, like the bank is actually going to consider, then unfortunately, you won't be able to service that loan. And that is why you aren't able to get the loan as high as you think you could. And this is such a limiting factor in how people can grow their wealth out, and that is what keeps a lot of people stuck. Now, there is a way around this, and it's potentially controversial because some people have made videos about this, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on YouTube, and people get roasted a lot about this. There is a way to increase your borrowing capacity by using different structures. If you are interested in that video, I can definitely make that for you. Leave a comment down below saying borrowing capacity with Ravi, and depending how many comments I get and likes on this video, then I'll definitely go ahead and make that one. Number 2 is the long-term vision strategy. Most people, when they go out and invest into property, it's usually by accident. What most people will do is they buy their home that they're going to live in, and then suddenly they outgrow the home or they want to upgrade in life, so you go and purchase another property. But they hold the initial property and say, well, let's just get tenants in there, now we've got an investment property. And this is one of the worst ideas, because when you purchased that first property, it was emotional. You didn't look at the data, you didn't look at the suburb, you didn't think, what is the long-term growth of this area, and is the yield even going to make sense for what my end goal is? So instead of going, I'm going to become an investor by accident, why don't you be proactive and create the strategy up front? And the best way to do that would be to go and figure out what the end goal looks like. So if the goal is, I want to generate 100K of passive income through real estate, well, you could either try and figure it out yourself or go ahead and watch this video, because that's exactly what I just made on this YouTube channel. What that would do is that it allows you to have the North Star, the vision of what the goal looks like, and then you can work backwards. For instance, if you're someone that is 20 and you want to retire by the time you're 50 and you want to retire on 75K of worth passive income, you will know what the end date is. And then all you need to do is go backwards and say, okay, I would need to purchase X amount of properties at this price point, at this yield, and that will get me to my eventual goal. Most people aren't doing this, and I can promise you, I hear this a lot when I talk to my sales team and I say, hey, what is the number one thing that people are unaware of? And they say they have no strategy. And that's why they go across to a buyer's agency like ourselves, who are a full service buyer's agency. So we're not just finding a property and saying, oh, Joe Smith came to us and said, hey, I want to buy a property for 500K. Here you go, see you later. It's a holistic approach. It's going, okay, Joe Smith, you want to buy a property. Why do you want to buy it? What's your goal? And once we figure that out, we're saying, well, here's the roadmap. This is how we're going to do it. Now, you can either go do this yourself or you can execute at speed. I know that there's a couple of things guaranteed in life: taxes, death, and people being really confused with something like real estate and real estate investing in general. So we go and simplify that process. If you need help and you want to chat to someone, I'll leave a link in the description below. You can call our team. We've got a number as well, and I'll have it pop up on the screen right now as well. Number 3 is education. Now, this can be one of 2 ways. 1, there's too much education, or 2, there's not enough education. I'm going to say that 15 years ago, there wasn't enough. And now I feel like there's too much, because every single person is going to bring their own journey, and you need to align yourself with the people that resonate with your goals and lifestyle. For example, if you're someone that's gone through your early 20s or currently in your 20s, you're saying, okay, I'm young, I have particular things that I want to spend money on. I don't want to be heavily negatively geared because, hey, I want to be able to enjoy my life and not have the restrictions posed on me because my properties are draining my wallet because they're negatively geared. So you might go, well, I'm okay to have negative cash flow by about 100, 150 bucks a week. That's not going to break the bank. And I can do that for the first year or 2. And then by then the rents will go up. So I'm okay to hold a property like that and it needs to be affordable. So if you're someone like that and you're saying, hey, I want to go and buy multiple properties, how do I do that? You would align yourself with someone like myself, and that's probably why you're listening, because you're going, hey, this guy just did that. He bought 13 properties by the time he was 28. He's got financial freedom early in his 20s, and that was before I even started the buyer's agency. And so if that is something that you're after, you've got to go and align yourself with someone who's done that. You don't want to go, hey, this person seems like they're knowing what they're doing. They've got 2 properties, but I have goals of buying 10 or 15. Well, they're probably not going to be the right match for you. And so that's what happens when you've got too much education, because some people suggest there's only one strategy to get there. Others will tell you a completely different strategy, and you've got to decipher what makes sense. So it can be really confusing. That's why I urge you to subscribe to the channel whether you use my service or not, and you can see the different tactics and strategies people are using, because I speak to a lot of people and I've seen what the richest people are doing, and I've seen what the people that are struggling are doing as well. When you don't have enough education, you might not value the certain things that are out there. So you might go, well, okay, my uncle told me that I should go and buy a property because he seems like he knows what he's doing. He talks about LVR and LMI, and I have no idea what that means. I'm following that dude. I can tell you, you shouldn't follow your uncle. He's probably an idiot, because my uncle's an idiot. If you've been a long-term viewer of my channel, you'll know that I have an uncle. He's very special because he offers advice when nobody asks for it. And I can confirm after 4 years, he's still an idiot. But in the case of not having enough education, you can go out there, make mistakes, and unfortunately, with real estate, there's high dollars involved. It's probably the biggest purchase you'll ever make. It's the most debt you'll ever take. And that's why you need to be very certain about the decision you make when you make it. So if you don't have confidence to do it yourself, or you've tried it yourself, you definitely need the right team around you to be able to execute. And that is the final point, or the biggest obstacle, which is action. I can read all I like about how to do a push-up, and this is the right form and the right structure. But until I'm actually doing those push-ups, I'm not gonna know how it feels, and I don't know what mistakes I'm gonna make. So I urge you, if you are listening to the channel and you've been watching for a while, contact us. At least you're starting to make some moves. Yes, watching is one thing, but you need to start executing. You can go and put that practice to use. If you're someone that's never heard of me and you've come across this video or someone shared it with you, welcome. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. But more importantly, go and start making some moves, whether that's having a budget in place, having the right strategy in place, or actually going and buying property because you've had that money sitting there, always reading the news and thinking, oh my God, the world's collapsing, everything is doomed. 6 months later, property prices are higher than where they were. I could have made a shit ton of money. I shouldn't have listened. But no, there's a recession coming. I better not buy anything. And suddenly you're 70 years old. You can't afford bread because it costs $250 at Baker's Delight. And now you're like, shit, I should have just listened to Ravi on YouTube. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you need the help, links in the description below can help you. If you aren't interested in that, subscribe to the channel and watch my face for another couple of hours, and that probably helps you because you get educated anyway. And hey, we have a bit of fun when we talk about data, because who doesn't love to make dry things wet? That's so not right. Let's just subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and if you don't, you can unsubscribe later, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys.